Welcome to the Alchemy Experience podcast, where transformation isn't just talked about, it's lived. I'm Erin, and around here, we're turning breakdowns into breakthroughs, pain into power, and survival into serious thriving. Whether I'm flying solo or vibing with a badass guest, we dive into all the things on health, creating beautiful relationships, and building wealth. We're keeping it real, raw, and ridiculously empowering. It gets a little juicy, a little bit wild, and super inspiring. This isn't just another podcast, it's your permission slip to evolve loud, proud, and on purpose. Let's go light the world on fire. Well, welcome back, guys, to the Alchemy Experience podcast. I have a new dear friend of mine, Anna, with me today, and we were just chatting for a few minutes before we started recording about the similar circles we're in because we're so vibing. We're so
That's how
vibing
we
together.
met.
I
Yeah.
know, I know. So I'm so grateful that you are coming on the show today to tell the people in my world a little bit more about
Mm.
you in your world, because what you do to me is similar to the things
Mhm.
I do in way of supporting people in the world to be their best self, but ultimately you do it through some different avenues than I do. So
Yeah.
healing and helping and supporting and growing, and you're a visionary and a thought leader and
Mhm.
all the things. So share with my peeps what you do, who you are, and then we'll dive into a little bit deeper
Oh, good. I
conversation.
love this. Thank you for having me on. I love our energy together, and I'm just honored to be here. And I think that whoever listens is the appropriate person who needs to hear whatever it is that we create together here. So I'm Anna Love, and I have a company that teaches kids how to cook that I started called Tiny Chefs here in the DC metro area that I started back when I was teaching kindergarten back in 2007. So it is almost 20-year-old company. And we are now on the brink of franchising. We did start it, and then COVID happened. And then while COVID happened, I opened up Anna Love Coaching, which it was while I was going through my own personal development, peeling back the layers, shedding all of my self-sabotaging behaviors, right? Because I was running this company, but I wasn't really running it full throttle. It was doing really well and growing, but I was not full throttle, right? So I was going through my own personal journey, healing journey, Tony Robbins, like all the things, all the books, all the, you know, healing modalities. And at the time, my coaches were saying, "Do you know you're a coach?" My energy healer said, "You're a feminine energy coach." And I was like, "I don't know what that is, nor do I want to be that." Like, I didn't have any, um, to be honest, any confidence that I could do that. Right. And so that was part of the unshedding the layers of that I was hiding behind. So eventually, one thing after another happened. And one day I just said to myself, "Anna, be honest, you are a coach." And so from there, I took a leap and, since the world was shut down anyway, and Tiny Chefs wasn't really doing too much, we were, doing virtual things, but I couldn't sell a franchise anyway because no one was buying, right?
Yeah.
So I went and I got trained, and I said, "What does Tony Robbins know? My very favorite hero in the world. What does he know and who taught him how to do this?" And I said, "Oh, I found out he does NLP." And I went to basically hit the trainers who trained my trainers were his trainers.
Mhm.
So I feel like, okay, now I can be equipped here to, I've got tools in my belt. And then I went on to learn with Marissa Peer, rapid transformational hypnotherapy. And then I just kept going and I just said, "Oh, well, there's stuff in the body. Like that's great. That's for your mind and everything. But what about when I'm on my yoga mat and I'm crying? What's that?" And I went and I found that there's such a thing called somatic healing, somatic experiencing with Peter Levine. So I would go and do all of these different techniques, emotional freedom technique with the tapping. And I was like, why are all these things just now coming into my world and I'm in my 40s? Like, what is going on here? So then eventually, the world opened back up, the pandemic kind of faded away. And I said, I'm not ready to sell franchises right now because I am so like enthralled with this coaching world. And I teamed up with my naturopathic doctors And they were saying, go see Anna, go see Anna. She's magic. If you want a new life, go see Anna. You want a new identity. If you're not happy, if you've got these body ailments, there's a root, and Anna will help you figure out what the root cause is. And then she will take it out like a surgeon and put in whatever it is that you want instead. And that is what I did for, I'm still doing that, but um, I'm reinventing myself every day is a new, like I wake up and I say, what's today? And I just reopened the franchise like a couple, like literally like last week. And so now we're going to be selling franchise again. It's come full circle. But the best thing about it is that I really feel like I'm a better leader in the franchise industry now, going through all of that, inner work that I had done and working with, 80 to 100 different clients over the past couple of years. It turned me into I just understand people differently, right? So I think it happens when it needs to, and
You needed to go through that process to
did.
elevate the franchise. What a full circle moment.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I feel good about it because I remember when it was time to franchise, I was doing it. Like I put one foot in front of the other, but it felt extremely dysregulating. Like I would start to get in my head about like, well, what if this and what if this goes wrong or these people are gonna like try to take down or sue me or something like that. And that was before I even understood, nervous system regulation.
yes.
So, of course I was feeling off, you
Yeah.
know?
Let's talk more about that because that is something that as a social worker is something that we're trained on slightly on how to understand behavior, right? We go
Mhm.
through multiple courses in our social work endeavors and take multiple classes about human behavior and social environment and how to, in diversity courses and all the things to understand psychological and human behavior. But there's a key element that in my coaching practice and how the alchemy experience came together is because I was so psychologically driven through my social work career, but that energetic component
Mhm.
was
Mhm.
lacking in the psychology side of things. And not
Right.
knocking psychology and social work because it's such a huge part of me.
Yeah.
But when I learned a handful of years ago, a few years back, of like, there's a whole other world that when we
Mhm.
learn how to take
Mm.
that and combine that, it's alchemizing, right? And
Yeah.
that's where all of this came from for me. But there's a piece in that somatic healing, there's a piece in the nervous system regulation. And what I've added inside of my stuff is that trauma-informed
Yeah,
leadership and that
exactly.
learning that nervous system regulation. So tell us a little bit more about that journey for you or your
Mhm.
expertise in this, not just in the NLP, the neuro linguistic stuff, but also that hypnotic and like breath
Mhm.
work and
Mhm.
all of that stuff because you were saying like what happens when I'm crying on my yoga mat, right? Like
Yeah.
I've done breath work sessions. I swear every breath work
Yeah.
session I cry. And it's
Yeah.
not like I'm like boo-hoo crying. It's just this like really I'm like smiling and it's just this release. It's wild. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit more from your perspective because I think there's an energy component that
Mm.
a lot of my folks are social workers that in my
Mhm.
world or are in the helping professions,
Yeah.
and we're not tapped into that side of things.
Because they don't teach it to us, right? We're so used to talk therapy. And I remember being shuffled into talk therapy as a kid and shuffled in, and then I dragged myself in there when I was in my 30s, and there wasn't too much that I got out of it. I got a couple of things, but I still didn't, I was acting out. I was drinking crazy. And then when I would drink, I would like yell and scream at like whatever man I was with. And then my talk therapist was like, yeah, just stop drinking. And I was like, okay, can you help me get down to the root of it? Like, why am I getting, and this was before I even understood that there was a word called triggered. All I know is I'm a hot fucking mess. Okay, that's what I know. Can you please help me? And there was no help, right? So after 2.5 years, I just stopped going. The problem did not go away. Let me just say that. And then while I was going through I was being coached. I had gone to a Tony Robbins event and that started to shift me a teeny tiny bit. Like I was the girl who wouldn't even dance at a Tony Robbins event. It took me 3 days before I would let loose and move because he likes to, get you in, yeah, he wants to put you in state
Static,
and he
like
does it
moving.
through, he changes your state. That's one of his NLP techniques. And I refused. I was like, I'm not here for that. I'm here for business mastery. I'm here for 5 days. Don't teach me mindset. I'm here for, and I was like that. I was uncoachable, let's just call it, right? And then at the end of those 5 days, I remember saying, I don't want to leave this place. This feels so different. And what had shifted was my physiology my focus started to shift and my language started to shift. And it was little by little by little that I was adopting it. And then I hired his coaches and then I hired other coaches. But here's the difference. When I went through all of that, that's what I've learned is called top down, right? So you're working with your mind, you're working with your focus, your language. You are shifting. He did the thing with the physiology in his triad where it's language, focus, and physiology. But I was still, so that by that point, I was dealing with like massive back pain. I was going through a divorce. I was feeling lots of guilt. I was feeling lots of shame. I was still feeling all that pent up anger from things that I couldn't figure out how to release, which was childhood trauma. I was drinking to make it all numb and go away, and I was avoiding, all while being a parent, all while running Tiny Chefs, which had, started to really pick up at that point. And but then I was going to yoga and I would be crying on the mat. And I didn't know it. I was like, okay, there's something here. And I thought I was gonna like that you're gonna laugh at this. I thought I had invented some sort of a new fit like psychology. I was like, I'm gonna go like brand this and trademark this. And I had no idea that it's like an actual, like there's breath work already out there. There's somatic experience that Peter Levine has been doing for fucking decades. I didn't know about any of that. That's how out of the know I was, right? And I was trained as an educator to teach, children. I was very interested in psychology, but I had told myself back, in when I was 18 that I wasn't smart enough for it. So I love that it's come full circle for me. And I am now doing the very thing that I knew that I was meant to do on this planet anyway, right? Was to work with people dealing with their inner struggles. So, lo and behold, what happened next? I think I was poking around looking for how can I start this like enter this work. I didn't really even know too much about energy work at that point either. I read like The Secret, you watched
Yeah.
the movie and
Yeah.
read the book and I know that. And I didn't really understand like the laws of attraction, all the things that I know now about energy and all the things that I know now about nervous system regulation was about to be exposed to me and change my entire life. And there's a company called the Embody Lab and PESI, PESI, and you can get like credits if you're a social worker and all this stuff.
Yep.
Doesn't apply for me, but I started working in there and I would go in there and say, "Oh my God, all of these topics, I need to know about this, I need to know about this, I need to know about this." So I learned about polyvagal theory. And I learned about from Peter Levine and I learned about Haikomi and I learned about focusing and I learned about all these different, I signed up for their courses and I was allowed to do that. I took a course with Dick Schwartz with internal family systems. I took a course on EFT tapping. And so within a couple of years, I was like, holy smokes, like my world is changing. And I started shifting myself from the inside out and it was to the point like even ecstatic dance that was one of the courses inside there was is just how to move your body freely and just even if you're shaking. And Peter Levine talks about this when there's a traumatic experience and a traumatic event in your life. And I love what he says. It's very much like if you're out in the wild and you're watching, let's just say a tiger chasing an antelope, right? And the tiger chases them. Can you hear my dog yelling right now? You can't
Yes.
hear. Okay.
No.
It's okay. I was making sure it isn't disruptive. If you're out in the wild and this tiger is running and chasing and it's ready to kill and hunt, well, say the antelope gets away and then it goes to hide behind a tree and it gets away all of a sudden, what it does is it shakes. It starts to release all of the energy that just occurred, all of the trauma.
Adrenaline.
Yeah, all the adrenaline that pent up, it releases. And then it goes about its day. It doesn't walk around talking to its cousins and its mother and its father about, oh, did you know that deer that, I almost just got eaten? And do you think he could still be out there? It doesn't forecast worry and fear. The moment has gone. It's over with. The event is done, right? And it just goes back to eating grass and walking around and doing all the things that it was doing. Humans do not do that. We are not allowed. We were taught as children to get up and keep moving, to suck it up, to not cry, or to go cry, but then it's over now, be done with it. And no one really allows us to take that pent up emotion and get it out of us, right? We might cry 10 years later about something that's happened when we were 6, and we're like, why is this happening? This should be, I shouldn't be mad about this. That's the beauty of somatics and nervous system regulation. Okay, that's one thing. So, and I will say, I'll tell another story if that's okay.
Of course.
Um, when I was still, I didn't know about this yet still, and I'm parenting, right? And I'm going through a divorce, and I was of the impatient type. I was like, let's go. We got to get to school, get your shoes on, get your lunch, get out the door. Let's go. Boom, 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 boom. How I was raised, right? And my girls, because they had just had a major trauma of divorce and they're now, being shuffled every 2 to 3 days from house to house to house to house to house. They're like, where are my shoes? Where is my head? Where's my bed? Where's my mom? Where's my dad? Where's everything? Where's my grounding? Okay. And what I had learned, and this is so important, is when the parent has their nervous system regulated, the child can mimic that and model that, and I wasn't regulated. So I was, let's go, let's go. And then I would get angry, like I told you to go. And I thought they were just being defiant. The more irrational I was and the more dysregulated I was, the more it would create disharmony and dysregulation in my children, in my home. And I couldn't figure it out. I was like, what is wrong with everybody? It was me. It was me. And I was the hub. So when I learned to start regulating and I realized that I was being triggered by certain things that had nothing to do with them and their behavior, I can go deal with myself, which was dealing with a younger version of me, healing a younger version of me. And then the trigger isn't a trigger anymore. And now I can breathe. And as as they're melting down in front of me, I can breathe. And then they all of a sudden can breathe. And I think that was a turning point for me as well in my parenting.
Yes, that's huge. I had a similar experience in that. And
Mm.
that was an aha moment. And that was a while back, but we're not perfect,
No.
right? There are definitely
Mhm.
moments where I lose my shiitake on my kids
Yeah.
and my family.
Mhm.
However, I've looked at it much differently and for various reasons that I've been able to regulate because I do the work, but it's a practice, right?
Mhm.
It's like we talk about, if you want to get better at anything, you have to practice. It's not
Yeah.
like, oh, I took this one
Yeah.
breath work
And
session
I'm done.
and I'm done. We have to be consistent at it.
Mhm.
That's why it's a journaling practice. There are times I fall off, but for the most part, almost daily, I'm doing my
Mhm.
gratitude practice or
Yeah,
my
that's
journaling.
that's what will dig you out of the hole if you're in. And I was in a hole. I remember when in 2016 after the divorce, I couldn't get out of on the days that I didn't have my girls with me, I would lay in bed for an hour and a half thinking I should get up. You should get up. You should get up. And like an hour and a half would go by. I'm like, I couldn't get up. Like I couldn't get myself. And I had to develop like a system. I had to do, okay, put the glass of water by your bed. As soon as the alarm goes off, you get up, you drink the water, you get up, go brush your teeth, and then you do like these practices. You do journaling, you go work out, and then you do some sort of a priming exercise or breath work exercise. And then you make that happens one day, and then it happens 2 days, and next thing you know, you're 2 weeks in, and next thing you know, you're 3 weeks in, and next thing you know, you're six. I remember looking back at 6 months and I was like, oh my God, I did it. I did it. And I don't have a problem. I don't have those issues anymore. Right.
Yeah. Now you have different issues that you're like evolved enough to say,
Yeah.
hey, if there was a treatment or a modality or something to be
Mhm.
able to get me through this, there's got to be something for this. And we
Yeah.
go seek it and we go find the people that, are doing the thing that can help us. So it's definitely an energy.
Hmm.
Yes, there's psychology to it. We have to think in order to behave, even if it's a subconscious thought, but there's an energetic component to it that once we've sort of mastered one level of energy, we can
Hmm.
kind of evolve to the next. And it's it can be scary for people that aren't in this world and do what we do. They're like, I was that like roll my
Yeah.
eyes or like
Yes.
whatever, okay, and it feels all woo and all like, that kind of thing. But when you actually sit with that and you're actually able to move past that part of it and embrace it, there's
Mhm.
something really magical that happens. And
You start creating a new identity. And I realized that's a big thing now, is really when you know, and like even with drinking, I don't drink alcohol anymore. And I remember like I would go through these phases of like not drinking, but then I would still feel this pull where I didn't want to let it go and I couldn't figure it out. And I then one day I cracked the code on that too. And I said, oh, it's my identity. I want to be the girl who drinks. I never want to be the girl who doesn't drink in the crowd. And I had to come to terms with that. And I was like, okay, let's let that go. Like, what are you benefiting from being that girl, right? Or not being that girl? So it's what you're saying. It's all energetics. Well, I say all. Energetics is a really big part of what I talk about now and how I live. I even call it energetic hygiene. We can get up and shower. We can tweeze our eyebrows. We can brush our teeth and shave our armpits. But like, are we doing energetic hygiene every day? Are we doing some priming? Are we doing some sort of a breath work? Are we even going to the gym? That's part of it too,
Mhm.
right?
Cleanse, right? It's
Yeah.
like we clean ourselves in the shower, we brush our teeth, like you're saying, but are we doing an energy cleanse? Are we
Mm.
looking at the energy leaks that we have? Who are the
Yeah.
people we're surrounding ourselves with and tapping into?
Hmm.
And are they the right energy match for us?
That's part of it too.
Right?
Look at
And if
that.
they're not, is it us that needs to match
Mhm.
their energy, or do we need to sort of figure that out, right? Because I
Yeah.
think sometimes it has been me where
Mhm.
I've had to say, I really want this person in my life, but what is it that I need to bring to the table that I'm
Mm.
not matching versus this
Hmm.
person, their energy isn't vibing to me, right? So it's
Yeah.
discerning that, which is difficult. So tell us a little bit more about that and that you've named a lot of amazing people that have been mentors for you or
Mm.
resources for you. So, people that are listening, go back and listen to this, jot down those names. I know Tony Robbins is a big name, but there's some other people you
Hmm.
mentioned that I think might be important
Yeah.
for people. But, you know, how did you discern, this is who I want to work with, or this is, or even people that might not be more well known, people that are just in your world that you were like,
Hmm.
I want to be around this person more. What
Mm.
did you do to
Well,
tap into that and shift?
so I was brought into Tony Robbins through my hairstylist, and she said, "I'm going to an event and I want you to come, and it's $10,000." And I said, no, big no on that. And she's like, just please go watch his videos. He works with like all these different stars, and I'm going to go to this event, and it's good for your business for tiny chefs. But I was in a really sabotaging place. I didn't want to do any of that. I was just getting through the day. I didn't want to go do any personal development. I sure shit wasn't going to pay $10,000. So, but I admired her, and she was always the portal to new things for me. I'd go get my hair done and it was numerology. Then I'd go get my hair done and it was astrology. And then I'd go get my hair done and it was, tinctures. And I'd go get my hair done and it was day trading. Like she's at all these different things. And I was obsessed with her and I trusted her. So I went and started with Tony Robbins. And then, I hired his coaches, and then he got me really. This is where the turning point was. I was actually into real estate investing, and I had spent a lot of money to learn how to flip houses, do wholesaling, like all these things. And by the way, I never did them because of the route that I got in. But I was working, I was listening. I got back from his event. I'm listening to one of his, he's got these apps that you listen to, his programs. I'm working out in my basement. And then when that was over, I went and I started listening to Bigger Pockets, and it's a podcast for people who are real estate investors. And on this Bigger Pockets, they had someone on there, a guest, and this guest had started a mastermind. And I had been hearing through Tony Robbins, you have to level up your friendships. If you want to grow, you need to be around people who are doing better than you are in life, right? You don't want to be the smartest person in the room. And I was like, okay, I don't know where that is, but I need to do something about this. And so I started energetically calling it in. It was what I was what I was saying I wanted. And when you manifest something, you have to say what you want. You have to call it in energetically, like, I'm ready for it now. I'm actually doing it now. And even if you're not, and then you have to take actionable steps. So I saw this and I literally stopped my workout. I put down my weights and I went over and I Googled this mastermind and I freaking applied, got an interview and got into this mastermind. And it was a millionaire's mastermind. Okay. And it was for people who wanted to be a millionaire or people who already were. And they were very collaborative. The idea was to like be in little pods with them, and it was accountability coaching as well. And it was, and the person who started this up had been going to Tony Robbins events for years, and it was all very like, it felt good to me. Okay. And so I started to do that. And within there, I learned about Hal Elrod, and that was where I learned how to do my morning routine, where I spoke of that because he has all of these books about the morning routine. I forget the name of it now, but he's got like four or five of them, or maybe even 10. Um, then I just started learning about all these different books and all these different ways of being, and it was just exposure, and it was what I was craving, and was what I was like, oh my God, I found it, I found it. So that just cracked me open into the world of personal development, and I have not stopped. I cannot stop. Like I'm like more, more, more. I just love it so much because it's just, when you're growing, right? If you're not growing, you're dying. And I was living a deathful life. I was just plugging along, doing nothing for 40 something years. I mean, that is a lot of years to be, and I had this like negative victim mindset and everything, boo-hoo me, nothing ever happens. The doors are always closing. And then when I started to open up and peel back the layers, I literally realized like I was the problem. I was the one in my way. And I became what's called coachable in the coachable world. Like I was like, just tell me and I will follow your lead. I'm ready to shift. I'm ready to let go. And when you devote yourself and you commit, there's no going back. There's nothing that can take me back now. So,
Yes. I love
yeah.
this. So you identified that you were the problem, but if you're the problem, you're the solution,
That's right.
right? And so that is exactly where I was at,
Mm.
and I continue to live that way. Now, do I always know how to tap into my solution part
Mhm.
of me? No, sometimes I just have to sit with it and be like, what do I
Right.
do now? You
That's
know?
right.
But I think if you could take anything away from this conversation today, for those that are listening, wherever you're at, whenever you're hearing this, ownership. Take
Yeah, look.
ownership and reach out to people that have
Mm.
done this work on
hmm
themselves,
Mm.
helps support you in finding your own solution.
And I created these friendships, but they weren't friendships. They were authors, right? And I said, these are my mentors. These are my people. And because they led me to other people who were talking about this and understood it. It was a new language. It was a new group of people. And you elevate yourself just automatically by choosing something different. And even if it's scary, even if I remember I could never, back then I could never even, it was very difficult for me to get into rooms and talk to people, right? It was very difficult for me to be my authentic self. That was part of the journey for me that I was working on, is like, where am I? I don't even know who I am because I've been trained for 40 something years to be 10, 20 different versions of me. And they weren't working, right? They were working, but they weren't working. Like, I had a business and I had beautiful children and I had a beautiful life, but it wasn't really working on the inside.
Yeah.
I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
It's the key.
Yeah. Such a beautiful conversation. I have loved this. Anna, if people are looking to tap into your world a little bit, how can they find you? Where do you hang out most?
I'd say Instagram is the easiest place. It's I am.theannalove. So come find me over there. Be happy to
Perfect.
connect with you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. And, I think too, there are so many things you're doing, but I think if you're looking for something specific in connecting with you for support on navigating this side of things, navigating sort of the woo that people think it is, but the hypnosis, the coaching, the
Mhm.
thought leadership. Connect with Anna, start following her, tap into her
Thank
world,
you.
and get to know you. And then if it feels aligned in that pull, have a conversation. We've been having some conversations, getting to know each other better, and
Mhm.
it's been fun getting to know you and seeing what you're doing and seeing your authentic self come out and some of the
Mhm.
things you're trying and doing new and showing the journey of that has been inspiring. So I've
Thank
loved this.
you. I love you. Thank you
One
so
thing
much.
that I like to end with before we wrap up is if there was, I ask this question to end every session or every call or episode, but if there's one phrase or word that you want to leave with the world
Mm.
today, what would
That's
that
an
be?
easy one. It has been coming to me over the past week or two. It is alignment. Be in alignment with everything, whether it's the water you're drinking, whether it's the clothes you're wearing, the people you're hanging out with, the time that you're spending. Make sure that it is fully aligned. And what I mean by that is you have to be in touch with your truth in order to know how to be aligned. So you have to be honest with you. And, so it's like example, some people just go to the gym every day and they're like, oh, I'm just going to do this workout because, it's what I've been doing for 10 years. It's just what I'm doing. That's not in alignment. That's not fully in alignment with you. You're just doing it to do it, right? Really seek out what lights you up, what is coming from the inside of you, right? That purpose and that, the honey pot, I like to call it because it's got all the good stuff right in there, all your love and all your zest for life, and then go find matches for what that is. And you will be fully aligned and I feel fully like fulfilled.
I love this. Oh,
Mhm.
so good. Thank you so much for being here.
Love you.
Love you. Thanks for tuning in to the Alchemy Experience. If this episode lit something up inside you, go ahead and share it with someone who's ready to rise too. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and connect with me online on all social media at the Alchemy Experience. Because transformation loves company, and together we all rise. And hey, don't just survive this week. Thrive like you frickin' mean it. Let's go let it up. Talk soon.